Well, our days of summer have finally come to an end, and our days at the beach are coming to an end as well. But I think one of the things that I love most about the beach, besides it allows me, time to just get away from the chaos of this world and spend time with God, is all of the broken seashells. People think it's funny because I collect broken seashells. I love whole seashells, but I love the broken ones even more because, as a crafter and someone who likes to make things, I feel like when you have something that's broken, it's able to be molded into something even more beautiful than a seashell by itself. And your options are limitless as far as what you want to make. And I also feel like these broken seashells, they remind me a lot of my testimony and how I found God. November the 3rd of 2003 was probably one of the worst days of my life. I woke up to what I thought was just going to be another ordinary day. I was getting ready for work, and my brother came to me and he told me he was going to leave the house, and he went downstairs. And a couple minutes later, I could hear him screaming in the front yard for me. And I ran to the window to see what was the matter, and I discovered that there was a team of federal agents that had surrounded our house, and that he was being arrested for his poor life choices. And they threw him to the ground and pulled guns out, and they took him away. He was incarcerated for 5.5 years of his life, and it was a 5.5 year nightmare for my family and I. The first year that he went away, I cried myself to sleep just about every night, and after that, I just went numb, and in all honesty, it was just easier not to feel anything anymore. So it was painful, to say the least. I think the most mind-boggling thing when tragedy hits your life is the fact that the world doesn't stop for your tragedy. It just keeps going. I remember during that season of my life, I was working as a makeup artist at the mall, and I would go and sit in the little rest areas on my breaks, and I would just people watch and just wonder, to myself, like how can all of these people be so happy? How can their lives just go on, when I have to wake up in the morning and remind myself to breathe because I can't feel anything anymore. You get into such a dark area in your life after feeling that way for so long, and life just doesn't seem to matter anymore. It doesn't. During that season of my life, I remember just praying, and trying to draw as close to God as I possibly could. And I remember one night I just poured my heart out to Him. I was so overwhelmed with all of it, and I was pouring my heart out to Him, and I just told Him, I said, God, I know that people say that you can make anything beautiful, but I don't know if I have enough faith to even believe that. How can my brother being in prison ever be beautiful? But, I felt like I heard God's voice speak to my heart, and it was the very first time I was really able to recognize His voice. And He told me that night, I know this is hard, I know it is, but you've just got to hold on to me with everything that you have left in you, And He just spoke to my heart, and He said, I will make this beautiful. It might take years for it to come through, but it will be beautiful one day, and that is a promise. And God does not fail on His promises. He will make these things beautiful in our lives. And so after that night, I didn't tell anyone that He had spoken that over my life. I didn't tell anyone because I knew they wouldn't understand it. But I bought this locket here, and I put a picture of my brother in it because the locket is covered in jewels and it's very beautiful. And whenever I would feel overwhelmed by the season that I was going through, and I would just grab this locket and I would just tell God, I'm holding on to that, God. I'm holding on to your promise. I believe that you're going to make this beautiful one day. So this is the anniversary of that tragic day that happened in my life 13 years ago. And I can honestly say that God came through on His promise, and He always does. Even if it takes 13 years later, He will come through, and He did make my brother being in prison a beautiful thing. It was the very thing that led me into my relationship with Christ. And it's also the very reason that I do this ministry online. A lot of people have asked me, Ashley, why are you doing this? Is it like something your church has you doing? Is it, do you make money doing this? Is it a hobby? And my best answer to them is it's a calling over my life, because it's what God did in my life. And every time I get to post a video, every time I get to share something else, I feel like I'm sharing my testimony of how God makes beauty from the ashes, how He makes beautiful things out of the ugly. And every time that I post that, God always just whispers to my heart. He said, now tell the world how I make ugly things beautiful. So if my heart's cry is that whoever would watch this would know that if you're facing tragedy now, if you have faced it in the past, or if you will face it in the future, that you would just hold on and cling to God with everything that you have in your heart. And you would believe that His promises are that He will make beauty from the ashes, because God is not a liar. And even if that takes 13 years like it did in my life, that He will come through, and that it will be a beautiful thing, and that you will be able to say, no matter what happened to me, no matter what I went through, no matter how painful it was worth everything to get to this point, because He is faithful and He loves you, and He wants you to know that today. I love you so much, and I hope that you are blessed by this, and I hope that it helps to heal your heart like it did mine. I love you, and until I see you again, you take care and you be blessed. Bye-bye.
The grand earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of His voice, and seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. And far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the middle. midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. The waves and wind still know His name. And it is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well, Lord. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me.